The story begins with a man named Peat. He was driving in a fit of rage because he had just argued with his dad about something related to his mom. The thing is, Peat's mom had just passed away, and he believed his dad was the one who caused her to leave forever. While driving at high speed, a girl suddenly appeared right in front of his car. That girl was Kiew. To avoid hitting her, Peat swerved hard and crashed his vehicle. The crash hurt Peat's arm, and his body was so shaky he couldn't stand up on his own. Seeing that, Kiew rushed over to help him, but Peat immediately brushed her hand away, coldly saying he didn't need help from a girl like her, and told her to leave immediately. However, Kiew was naturally kind and thoughtful. She didn't leave him alone. She replied softly that in this situation, she couldn't just turn her back and ignore him. Besides, her suddenly rushing out in front of his vehicle was the reason he had the accident. Otherwise, nothing would have happened. Already in a bad mood, Peat became even more irritable after that incident. Even so, Kiew quietly took out her handkerchief and carefully wrapped it around his arm to stop the blood from oozing out. That unexpected kindness made Peat's heartbeat skip a beat for a moment. Kiew advised him to go to the hospital for a checkup, but Peat refused, saying he had urgent business to handle. After saying that, he turned around and walked away, leaving her standing there. Later, Peat showed up at the meeting spot with his friends, where the group was getting ready for a basketball game. Key and Ka surprisedly asked why he was late. Peat recounted that he just had an incident on the road. Looking at the girl's handkerchief tied around Peat's arm, Ka teased him laughingly, asking if he had crashed into another girl today. Peat snapped back that he wasn't in a good mood, so it was best not to provoke him further. Then, he urged the group to hurry and get ready, because they absolutely had to win this match. Everyone was present and Peat's match began. A girl named Che was also there. She really loved and admired Peat. However, Peat suddenly saw that Kiew was also present there. He was immediately attracted to her and focused intensely on the game, finally winning amidst everyone's cheers. The match ended and Kiew packed her things to get ready to leave. Right at that moment, Peat intentionally threw the ball toward her, laughing while striking up a conversation, asking if she wanted to play with him. Kiew paused for a moment, but quickly refused, saying she didn't have time to play around with anyone. Having a familiar stubborn nature, Peat didn't give up easily. He kept finding ways to argue, trying his best to invite Kiew to join him. However, she still firmly shook her head, stating that she had absolutely no interest. Kiew threw the ball back to him, coldly saying she had a lot of work to do, then turned and walked away. It was that decisive attitude that made Peat feel she was different and harder to figure out than ever. In another turn of events, Kiew went to visit her mom. For all these years, Mrs. Sa had never told her anything about her father, and Kiew had never actively asked about it either. This was because her mom had given her complete love, enough for her to grow up without feeling deprived. Mother and daughter did housework together in a peaceful atmosphere. Kiew softly told her mom to rest and leave everything for her to handle. Her mom just smiled gently, saying she wanted to give her a hand. But right after that, she suddenly felt dizzy and collapsed. Kiew was panicked and hurriedly took her mom to the hospital. There, she was shocked to learn that her mom was facing a serious illness that required long-term treatment. Meanwhile, Peat returned home very late. His dad scolded him sternly, asking if this was the appropriate time to come home. Peat immediately reacted harshly, claiming his dad wasn't any better than anyone else. He blamed him for having treated his mom coldly, only being obsessed with his career and neglecting the family. In the moments when his mom was weakest, he wasn't by her side. Finally, Peat uttered bitter words, claiming that it was that indifference that caused their family to fall apart, leaving him with a void that nothing could fill. At the hospital, Kiew hugged her mom, tears falling nonstop. Right at that moment, a middle-aged man walked into the hospital room. Her mom looked at him and softly introduced him as her father's best friend. Kiew had never heard her mom mention her father, so finding out he still had a best friend who silently cared made her both surprised and emotional. As for that man, he blamed Kiew's mom for hiding her illness, saying that by the time he found out, things were already serious. Then, he told Kiew that he would step up to cover all the treatment costs for her mom, and at the same time suggested that the mother and daughter move in with him to make caretaking easier. Mrs. Sa flatly refused, not wanting to disturb someone else's life, but he argued that the current situation didn't allow her to be stubborn anymore, and that she needed someone by her side. After many attempts at persuasion, even Kiew gently advised her mom to reconsider. Finally, not wanting her daughter to worry, her mom reluctantly nodded in agreement. The man said that later he would take the two of them to his house. At the same time, because Peat was suspicious, he secretly followed his dad to the hospital. When he discovered his son, he asked Peat what he was doing there. Peat hurriedly lied that he came to visit a friend and was about to leave. His dad seemed surprised, saying that if he had known earlier, they could have gone together because he had important business. Peat coldly replied that he would never go anywhere with him. The next morning at school, while Kiew was walking, Pitt, who was playing basketball with friends, intentionally threw the ball toward her. The sudden throw hurt Kiew. Pitt again asked if she wanted to play ball with him. Actually, by this time Pitt had started having feelings for Kiew. It was just that he didn't know any other way than finding excuses to approach her. However, Kiew still flatly refused. Annoyed, Pitt turned to ask his friends how to conquer a girl. His friends came up with all sorts of ideas, but he immediately brushed them off, calling them nonsense just like their owners. After that, Pitt saw Kiew sitting alone looking sad. He approached her, trying to strike up a conversation, but she remained completely silent. Pitt then threw the ball toward her, asking why she looked so down, and suggested she spend some time playing ball with him. He promised that if she agreed to play once, he wouldn't bother her anymore. After a moment of hesitation, Kiew asked again to confirm the promise. Pitt just smiled, saying let's just play first and figure it out later. Finally, Kiew agreed, admitting that she didn't know how to play basketball. Pitt immediately told her to just follow his lead, and he would guide her bit by bit. So Pitt began teaching Kiew how to play. Right in the middle of that, Che appeared and witnessed the scene of the two of them laughing and talking together. Seeing Pitt next to another girl, a feeling of insecurity suddenly rose in her heart. Che really loved Pitt, was always afraid of losing him, and didn't want him to be close to any other girl. Inside, she kindled a determination to find a way to push that girl out of Pitt's life. At this point, a messy love triangle emerged. Che gave all her affection to Pitt. Meanwhile, Key, Pitt's best friend, secretly loved Che. When returning home, Pitt walked in while the maid, Tong, was cleaning, and the floor was still wet. As he wasn't paying attention, he slipped and fell down. Tong was so panicked her face turned pale, mentally preparing herself to be heavily scolded by Pitt like usual. But Pitt's reaction made her stunned. He didn't get angry, nor did he utter any harsh words. Even though Tong was trembling and apologizing continuously, Pitt just calmly said not to worry about it, that he was busy, and then walked straight off. The maid stood motionless, unable to help but wonder in confusion what strange thing happened today to make young Master Pitt change like that. That transformation, it turned out, stemmed from the first flutter of feelings he had for Kiew. Back in his room, Pitt sat alone, his mind constantly replaying the image of Kiew, especially the moment he patiently showed her how to play basketball. An indescribable feeling of anticipation rose within him, just wishing to see her again soon. In another place, Kiew was in a similar mood. Thinking of Pitt, she instinctively felt shy, and her heart fluttered slightly. Both of them had begun to have special feelings for each other. The next morning, when Pitt was getting ready to go out for training, a car stopped in front of the gate. He saw his dad step out, graciously helping a woman along. Witnessing that unusual care, Pitt couldn't hold back his curiosity. Right at that moment, Pitt's dad introduced her as Sa, his new wife, and the person who would become his stepmom, and that from now on they would live together under one roof. Hearing that, Pitt stood frozen. A serious misunderstanding immediately formed in his mind. He assumed that this woman was the reason his biological mother had to endure so much hurt and suffering. His anger flared up, and Pitt got into a loud argument with his dad, stating firmly that he wouldn't accept letting the two of them stay in this house. Amidst the tense atmosphere, Kiew's mom spoke up, saying she didn't want to cause a conflict between father and son because of her, and she was ready to leave. However, Pitt's dad, Mr. Nye, firmly did not allow it, arguing that she needed to stay so it would be easier to take care of her. Returning to his room in a fit of rage, Pitt took out Kiew's handkerchief, stomped on it hard, and then threw it into the trash can. He thought bitterly that he had been mistaken about her, and that she was no different from the others. From that moment on, Pitt decided he would find every way to force Kiew and her mom to leave the house. At the dining table, Kiew and her mom sat across from Pitt's dad. Kiew politely thanked him for helping her and her mom. He just waved his hand, saying that Kiew's dad was a best friend, so helping each other was obvious. Right then, Pitt appeared with a face full of hatred. He spoke coldly, warning them not to celebrate too soon, because sooner or later he would kick the two of them out of this house. Not stopping at just words, Pitt walked up to the dining table and started causing a loud scene. Kiew tried to intervene, but Pitt's anger had gone out of control. He knocked over the food on the table, plates shattering, accompanied by screams that he would definitely kick them out, unable to tolerate that behavior. His dad angrily struck him to warn him, sternly scolding that he was acting out of line and disrespecting others. Hurt both physically and mentally, Pitt turned and walked away. Mrs. Sa hurriedly spoke up to advise him, trying to soothe the heavy atmosphere. In another turn of events, Kiew had to go out for something. Pitt secretly followed her, determined to find her weakness. In his mind, Kiew and her mom were the cause of his family falling apart, and he wouldn't allow them to stay. After that, Pitt called and asked his friends to meet at a location. When they wondered why he called so urgently, Pitt just smiled mysteriously, saying he had prepared some interesting entertainment. Meanwhile, Kiew was working part-time at a coffee shop to earn money to help with her mom's treatment costs. Suddenly, She saw Pitt and his group of friends walk in. When Kiew asked why he showed up, Pitt replied in a superior tone, saying that if he came to a coffee shop, of course it was to drink coffee. He also coldly reminded her to just do her job as an employee and not talk too much. Those words hurt Kiew deeply, but she quietly endured it, wrote down the order and brought the drinks out. Suddenly, Pitt stood up and shouted in front of everyone in the shop, slandering Kiew as a cunning person, and even hinted at bad things about her mom. Unable to stay silent any longer, Kiew splashed a cup of coffee at him, saying that if he didn't understand the situation clearly, he shouldn't make assumptions. The two immediately got into a loud argument. Things quickly got out of hand, and just as Pitt had calculated beforehand, Kiew was asked by the owner to quit, because they thought she didn't know how to handle situations with customers. Kiew quietly went home. On the way, Pitt blocked her path. Kiew looked at him, asking chokingly if he was satisfied now that she had lost her job. Pitt coldly replied that this was only the beginning. Kiew tried to turn away, but Pitt held her back, threatening that he would make her life reach a dead end. Kiew tried to explain her mom's condition and the reason they had to stay at his house, but Pitt wasn't thinking straight enough to listen at this point. The next morning, while Pitt was playing basketball, old memories came rushing back of the times his parents were tense and arguing non-stop. In his twisted thinking, he believed that Kiew's mom was the cause of his family breaking apart, and he swore he would never accept or forgive her. When Mrs. Sa was cooking in the kitchen with the maid, Kiew walked in. Seeing her mom busy but in better spirits, Kiew happily asked to help out. Right then, Pitt, on his way to basketball practice, saw the two of them gathered together, and a feeling of annoyance rose in his heart. He walked over, coldly saying they shouldn't celebrate too soon, because he would soon make the two of them leave this house. Kiew's mom tried to talk to Pitt, but he was still drowning in anger. He was about to throw the basketball at Kiew when his dad appeared and protected the two of them. Seeing his dad defend outsiders, Pitt became even angrier. Suddenly, Mrs. Sa didn't feel well. Pitt's dad hurriedly caught her. Meanwhile, Pitt stormed out of the house in anger. Kiew chased after him to explain, but he was already gone. Later, Pitt sat alone somewhere and thought about his mom. He loved his mom very much, but she had to endure a lot of stress. Due to too much stress, his mom fell ill and passed away not long after. He believed his dad had to be responsible for his mom's passing because when she was sickest, he was just obsessed with business. That was the reason why Pitt didn't like his dad at all. At this moment, Mrs. Sa was wishing her daughter a happy birthday and said that today was not only Kiew's birthday but also Pitt's birthday. She advised Kiew to do something for Pitt for his birthday and suggested she should make a cake. As for Pitt, he sat by his mom's grave, bringing along a cake and crying his eyes out. He was in pain because today was his birthday, but his mom wasn't there to celebrate with him. Meanwhile, Kiew was making a cake for Pitt herself, following her mom's instructions. When Pitt returned, the maid hurried to check and saw that he was back. Pitt saw Kiew holding a cake, while his dad stood behind wishing his son a happy birthday. This made Pitt feel a little happy. His dad gave him a gift. He accepted it and realized that his dad had also given Kiew an identical gift, because today was also her birthday. That action made Pitt so angry that he couldn't control himself. He snatched the cake from Kiew's hands, coldly asking if she had made it. When Kiew nodded to admit it, the anger inside him immediately flared up. Pitt threw the cake straight at her, grumpily saying that if she made it, she should eat it herself, as he had absolutely no interest. His dad witnessed that scene and immediately spoke up to scold him, but Pitt turned to blame him, claiming that it was his thoughtlessness that caused him to lose his mother. Kiew tried to chase after him to talk to Pitt. In her rush, she slipped on the stairs. Pitt caught her just in time, causing both of them to freeze for a brief moment. Kiew was panicked, begging him in a trembling voice not to let go because she was afraid of falling. Seeing that fear, Pitt intentionally made a few threatening remarks, as if wanting to test her patience. Even so, Kiew still urgently said that she just wanted to talk clearly with him. Once again, Kiew tried to explain her mom's condition, but Pitt absolutely didn't want to listen. He cut her off, claiming she was making it up and stating that he hated dishonest people the most. After saying that, he coldly told her to leave, declaring that he wouldn't believe a single word from her anymore. Kiew tried to hold him back, but Pitt still turned his back and walked away without looking back. After that, Kiew went into the bathroom, quietly wiping off the cream stuck to her body, her tears falling and mixing with the cold water. In another turn of events, Kiew's mom's condition showed signs of getting worse. Pitt's dad advised her to keep her spirits stable, and at the same time said he would go get her medicine. Just as he left the room, Kiew walked in to visit her mom. She said that she had tried to explain everything to Pitt, but he wouldn't listen. Kiew gently comforted her mom, saying they would only stay here for a short time, and once her health was more stable, the two of them would return to their own home. The reason Kiew's mom accepted staying there was because she was worried about her daughter's future. if she wasn't healthy enough to handle everything. She trusted Mr. Nye, because in the past he and her husband used to be best friends. Mother and daughter hugged each other, tears falling silently. Right at that moment, Pitt's dad returned, softly apologizing for the intrusion and reminding her it was time to take her medicine, telling her not to let her condition get any more serious. He apologized to Kiew on behalf of his son. Kiew hurriedly shook her head, saying that he had nothing to apologize for, because on the contrary, he had helped her and her mom a lot. The next day, Pitt was sitting with friends in a restaurant. He barely touched his food, his face clearly tense. A friend curiously asked what was wrong, wondering if it was related to the girl with the handkerchief from the other day again. Pitt snapped, telling them not to ask random questions because his mind was a mess and he didn't want to talk to anyone. Seeing Pitt's attitude, Che walked over, softly saying that if he was sad about something he could share it with everyone because after all they were friends, and maybe they could help him in some way. Meanwhile, Kiew asked the maid about Pitt. She said that Pitt didn't have a fixed schedule and came home whenever he felt like it. Kiew had to call him, but Pitt didn't answer the phone. She called time and time again but there was still no response. A friend of Pitt saw this and reminded him that it seemed like an important call, so he should answer it. Finally, Pitt picked up the phone. But before Kiew could say anything, he coldly told her that if she wanted to talk, she should come to the address he was about to send. Because she wanted to explain everything, Kiew still went to the meeting spot. There, Pitt said that if she wanted to talk, she had to get in his car. After hesitating for a moment, Kiew had to do as he said. Pitt drove at such high speed that Kiew was panicked, forcing her to cling to him tightly and repeatedly ask him to slow down. Finally, Pitt slammed on the brakes in a desolate place, angrily saying that if Kiew really wanted to talk, she should have spoken while the car was moving, otherwise he had nothing left to say. Then, he demanded Kiew get out of the car, coldly declaring that her journey ended there and telling her to find her own way back, while he would return home. Kiew panicked and tried to stop him, explaining that she didn't know where to go on her own and begging him to take her back. But Pitt remained tough and wasn't swayed at all. He started the engine and drove off, leaving Kiew standing silently in the middle of the deserted road. After driving for a while, Pitt started to feel regret for treating Kiew so badly. He thought that he shouldn't abandon her in the dark night like that, so he turned the car around to look for her. Meanwhile, Kiew was trembling with fear in the dark night. Right at that moment, her mom called. Just as she was about to answer, the phone ran out of battery, and she couldn't take her mom's call. At home, her mom was extremely worried. Pitt returned to the place where he had left Kiew, but looked around and didn't see her anywhere. He panicked and started searching for her in the nearby areas. A while later, Kiew made it home on her own. As soon as she arrived, she ran to hug her mom and cried her eyes out. Pitt's dad asked what had happened, and Kiew recounted that Pitt had left her in the middle of the road. When Pitt returned home and found out Kiew had already returned, the anger inside him flared up again. He loudly scolded her, his voice full of harshness. Unable to tolerate that attitude, Pitt's dad angrily stepped forward, raised his hand to warn him, and sternly asked if he was aware of what he had done. He blamed Pitt for leaving a girl alone in the middle of the road late at night, emphasizing that if something unexpected happened, how would he take responsibility? Pitt immediately argued back, saying that he had returned to look for Kiew, but when he didn't see her there, he came back home. He continued to blame Kiew, claiming that she was the reason the relationship between father and son was becoming increasingly tense. Mrs. Saw the atmosphere becoming heavy, so she tried to speak up to mediate. However, right at that moment, her health suddenly became unstable, her face turned pale and she collapsed. Facing that unexpected situation, Mr. Nye immediately caught her and hurriedly took her to the hospital for timely care. At the hospital, the doctor announced that Kiew's mom's condition was very critical because the bad cells were developing more and more. Hearing the bad news, Kiew cried a lot. Right at that moment, Pitt also arrived at the hospital. He saw the doctor and tried to ask about the condition of Kiew's mom. Through the doctor's words, Pitt finally learned that Kiew's mom was seriously ill. This news made Pitt extremely devastated. He returned home, holding Kiew's handkerchief and crying his eyes out. He regretted not believing Kiew's words when she said her mom was seriously ill. After that, Pitt went to the hospital to visit Kiew's mom and wanted to apologize, but she hadn't woken up yet. This made him even more miserable. At school, Pitt saw Kiew and tried to strike up a conversation, but she didn't reply at all. She assumed that Pitt was the reason her mom's illness had gotten worse. Pitt felt incredibly guilty and tried to talk to Kiew. He threw the ball toward her to get her attention, but Kiew still didn't react. Later, Kiew's mom woke up. She asked Mr. Nye to promise that if anything happened to her, he would take care of her daughter. Pitt's dad promised to take care of Kiew. Right after that, Mrs. Saw started having trouble breathing, and her condition became very critical. Mr. Nye hurriedly called the doctor. Pitt's dad called to let Kiew know that her mom's condition was becoming serious. Kiew immediately rushed to the hospital with her friends and Key. There, She stood frozen when she heard the news that her mom didn't make it. Kiew rushed to the hospital bed, hugged her mom and cried her eyes out in despair. She choked out that in this world besides her mom, she had no one left. Yet now even that only relative had left her forever. Right at that moment, Peat also arrived at the hospital with his friends to visit. There he learned the bad news about Kiew's mom. In a fit of extreme emotion, Kiew cried while running up to Peat, taking out all her pain and resentment on him, claiming that he was the reason her mom had to leave this world. Peat carried a heavy sense of guilt, believing that he couldn't escape responsibility for this tragedy. To find some peace, he went to his mom's grave and quietly cried, painfully admitting that he never wanted Kiew's mom to suffer an end like that. In a flashback, the past gradually revealed that Mr. Nye and Mrs. Sai used to have a deep romance. They had loved each other and made promises about a future together. However, opposition from Peat's dad's family left that relationship unfinished, forcing them to part ways in regret. Back in reality, Peat sat silently by his mom's grave, constantly tormenting himself, believing that all the tragedies stemmed from him. When he returned home, his dad was already waiting. He sternly scolded him, claiming that Peat had done something wrong. In his mind right now, Peat was also gradually becoming the cause that led to the tragedy of Kiew's mom. Father and son fell into a fierce argument again. In a fit of anger, Peat's dad demanded that he leave the house. Unable to suppress his emotions, Peat replied that he would leave immediately and would never come back, even if his dad called him back later. Peat left the house in a chaotic state of mind. However, deep down he still resented Kiew, believing that she was the one who brought a series of unfortunate events into his life. He remembered the past when his mom was in critical condition. His dad was busy with an important meeting. He wasn't with him at that time, nor was he there to comfort him when everything was over. Yet today, when Kiew's mom faced a tragedy, his dad was always right by her side. The feeling of being abandoned made Peat feel extremely lonely. Called Che, recounting the whole situation including being kicked out of the house by his dad. Having always had deep feelings for Peat, Che couldn't sit still after hearing that. She quickly came to see him, gently comforted him, and invited him to stay at her house temporarily. After a moment of hesitation, Peat agreed. Meanwhile, Kiew started packing her things to leave Peat's house. Since her mom was no longer by her side, she felt she had no reason to continue staying in this place. The maid saw that and hurriedly reported it to Peat's dad. He quickly came to see Kiew, earnestly advising her to stay, saying that he had promised her mom he would take good care of her. Kiew still firmly wanted to return to her own home. At that time, Peat's dad suggested adopting her, hoping she would see him as a biological father and continue to stay. Kiew remained silent and didn't give an answer. In the next turn of events, Kiew appeared at her mom's funeral. She held her mom's photo tightly, tears falling non-stop, painfully saying that her mom had left her, leaving her alone in this vast world with no one by her side to protect and comfort her. Right at that moment, Peat arrived to attend the funeral. Seeing Kiew crying, he intended to approach her, but when he realized his dad was already there and gently comforting her, he hesitated and then quietly turned away. After that, Peat sneaked back home when his dad and Kiew were both away. He quickly packed his important belongings, preparing to go back to Che's house. Right at that moment, he saw his dad and Kiew returning. Peat hurriedly hid to avoid being spotted. In the meantime, he heard his dad instructing the secretary to prepare the paperwork to officially adopt Kiew. Hearing this, Peat was stunned. When the secretary mentioned finding Peat, his dad just calmly said it wasn't necessary because Peat was his son after all, and he could come back whenever he wanted. Those words made Peat feel deeply heartbroken, because it seemed his dad didn't care about his departure at all. Peat took all his documents with him to Che's house. There, Che tried to express her feelings and get closer to him, but Peat coldly rejected her. Later, Peat's dad was sitting alone and thinking about his son. He wondered why Peat still hadn't returned. He went into Peat's room and saw that everything was a mess. He hurriedly looked to see if anything was missing and discovered that all of Peat's important documents had disappeared. He immediately called his secretary and asked him to find out about Peat. Meanwhile, Peat had decided to go abroad to finish his studies. Che, because she loved Peat very much, also decided to go with him so they could finish their studies together. Peat's dad's secretary went to see Ki and Ka, Peat's two best friends, to ask for information, but he didn't get any information about Peat. It turned out that these two friends knew everything clearly, but because Peat had told them not to say anything, they kept silent. Later, while Mr. Nye and Kiew were sitting together, the secretary arrived and reported that there was absolutely no information about Peat. They didn't know if he was even still in the country. Peat's dad was extremely sad. He went over to Mrs. Pan's statue, the place where Peat had come earlier and was currently sitting. His dad didn't see him. He expressed his worry about his son. Peat was about to step out, but right at that moment, his dad recounted the past romance between him and Kiew's mom, saying that he used to love her but had to marry Pitt's mom due to family pressure. Now that the truth was exposed right before his eyes, Pitt became even angrier at his dad, and he continued to hide. After his dad left, only then did Pitt step out, his heart full of anger. He thought his dad was terrible for having someone else from the start yet still marrying his mom. As for Kiew, she returned to her own home. She cried a lot when looking back at her mom's keepsakes. Her mom's image kept coming back, making her unable to hold back tears, remembering the beautiful moments in the past of mother and daughter. Meanwhile, Che finally made it clear to Kiew and Ka that she had decided to go abroad with Pitt to continue her studies. Kiew, who had always had a lot of feelings for Che, absolutely didn't want her to leave, and even more so, didn't want her walking side by side with Pitt on that trip. However, facing Che's steadfast love for Pitt, she decisively affirmed that she would definitely go with him. Those words were like a knife piercing Key's heart, causing him unavoidable pain. Even so, he still tried to keep calm, swallowed his emotions inside, then forced a smile and told Che that whenever she needed, she could call him anytime. After speaking, the group quietly left, each carrying their own private thoughts, leaving behind a heavy silence that was hard to name. They went to a restaurant for dinner. There, Key saw Che taking care of Pitt way too attentively, which made him feel jealous, but he was also helpless because he couldn't do anything about it. Afterwards, Key returned and sat in his own small restaurant. Before that, he had invited Kiew to work there, but Kiew thought that since he was Pitt's friend, his personality must be similar. Therefore, she had turned down the job offer. However, eventually, because she couldn't find a job anywhere else, one day she came looking for him. She came to Key's restaurant, and finally he accepted her to work. At this point, all misunderstandings between the two were also resolved. Kiew also realized that Key wasn't like Pitt. He was a good person. And Key also learned that Kiew wasn't at all like what Pitt had described. She was a good girl. The two were talking when they were suddenly stunned to see Che walk in, and she didn't come alone but came with Pitt. Che came to see Key, but right after that she saw Kiew and found out through Key that Kiew would be working there. Che couldn't control her emotions, immediately taking out all her frustration on Kiew, claiming that her appearance was what pushed Pitt into his current situation. She harshly said that if Kiew hadn't stepped foot into their house, Pitt's dad wouldn't have gotten angry enough to kick him out. Not stopping there, Che let out even more bitter words that Kiew couldn't endure any longer. Feeling she had no place there, Kiew quietly turned to leave. Key hurriedly held her back, but Che coldly dropped a sentence, telling Kiew to just go. In her resentment, Kiew didn't say another word and decisively walked away. However, as soon as Kiew stepped outside, Pitt was no longer there. He intentionally left first because he didn't want Kiew to know his current situation clearly. As for Key, he turned to explain to Che that Kiew wasn't a bad person like she thought. On the contrary, she was a kind girl who had suffered a lot of disadvantages. However, Che didn't believe those words at all. Elsewhere, Pitt had left that area and sat quietly by his car. He didn't want his family to know where he was going, nor did he want anyone interfering with his decisions. Later, Mr. Nye met Kiew and gently advised her that even though the recent tragedy made her collapse, she shouldn't let her education be interrupted. He said that if Kiew wanted to continue her academic path, he was ready to step up and help her with all his ability. Facing that sincerity, Kiew finally nodded in agreement, determined to finish her studies. In another turn of events, Pitt went to the place where Kiew's mom's photo was placed. Before the familiar frame, he bowed his head to say sorry, hoping she would understand. Right at that moment, Kiew appeared. Pitt turned around and spoke the things he had kept hidden for so long, about the past of Kiew's mom and his dad, and about the relationship that once existed between the two. He sighed, claiming that everything was now closed. There was no one left to blame, but he still couldn't help but feel disappointed when thinking about Kiew. Hearing that, Kiew calmly told Pitt about his dad's intention to adopt her. She frankly said that if Pitt didn't return home, all rights in the family would automatically transfer to her, something she absolutely didn't desire. Kiew affirmed she had absolutely no interest in those things, and thought Pitt should go back and face his family. Those words made Pitt misunderstand even more deeply. He assumed Kiew intentionally showed up to snatch what belonged to him, believing it was all a deliberate setup. In a fit of anger, Pitt walked away without looking back. Afterward, Pitt was with Che and came to the final decision that both of them would go abroad together to continue their studies. As for Pitt's dad, he treated Kiew like a biological daughter, while hoping that after finishing her studies, she could return to support him in the family business. Kiew agreed, considering it a way to repay the kindness he had shown her. Elsewhere, it was the final gathering of Pitt's friend group before the day of parting. They gathered to say goodbye. Key, who always gave all his affection to Che, didn't want her to leave with Pitt. He tried to persuade her, but Che remained firm with her choice. When the moment of parting drew near, Key suddenly hugged Che tightly, chokingly expressing his feelings, begging her to stay. However, Che gently replied that her happiness was being with Pitt, hoping Key would let her follow the path she had chosen, because he always wanted Che to be happy. He finally didn't hold her back anymore. He just quietly promised that if she faced any difficulties in life, just call him, and he would still be there. When the departure time neared, Che tactfully refused to say more, saying she was running late, then left with Pitt, leaving behind a farewell full of regret. Meanwhile, Mr. Nye informed Kiew that he had finished the enrollment procedures abroad for her, and now she would have to go overseas to finish her studies. Kiew agreed. She didn't want to make Pitt's dad sad. Now, when Kiew was about to go abroad, she came to meet Key once to announce that she was about to go study overseas. It turned out, after Che left, Key was very miserable. But having a friend like Kiew, he gradually recovered his spirits. They hung out together and felt very happy. Meanwhile, Pitt and Che had arrived in Seoul, South Korea. To finish their studies, they enrolled and started a new life there. Che was very happy because she could spend all her time on Pitt. As for Mr. Nye, because he had to be away from his son, he became very stressed. Seeing that, Kiew couldn't stand it anymore. She promised herself that she would try her best to bring Pitt back as soon as possible. Later, Pitt and Che were video calling their friends since they hadn't talked for a long time. Right at that moment, Kiew appeared. She came to say goodbye because she was about to go to another country to finish her studies. At this moment, Kiew suspected Key, so she asked him if he knew where Pitt was. Key refused and said that he had promised his friend not to reveal anything. He just asked her to tell Pitt's dad that he was still doing well. After that, Kiew left. One day at school, Che discovered that Kiew had also enrolled there. To keep Pitt from knowing this, she dragged him somewhere else and said that the weather today was very beautiful, suggesting they should go out and hang out. Pitt felt a bit strange but didn't react. Che thought that if Pitt knew Kiew was there, he wouldn't leave her side for a second and would run to her immediately. Therefore, she didn't want to let Pitt know that Kiew had also arrived in Seoul. After that, Kiew and her friend went to a restaurant. Unfortunately, Che and Pitt were also present there. Che saw Kiew in the restaurant and didn't want Pitt and Kiew to bump into each other, so she dragged him somewhere else and said she didn't want to eat at this restaurant, suggesting they should go eat somewhere outside. After that, Pitt took Che back to her hotel. Che hinted that she wanted him to stay with her that night, but Pitt said that he had to finish his schoolwork so he had to go. Kiew's friend called her and asked about the situation. Kiew said that she was very happy there. As for Ka, he was passionately practicing soccer on the field. While kicking a ball hard, he accidentally made it fly off course, hitting the phone that Kiew's friend, Pa, was holding in her hand, causing the screen to crack immediately. She stared in shock at the broken phone, hurriedly blaming Ka, saying that it was a very expensive item her dad had just bought for her, and she hadn't even used it yet, then demanded that he take it to get fixed immediately. Ka had to take the phone to get fixed, and afterward, he even carefully collected the repair costs back from Pa. Meanwhile, Pitt was sitting alone in a hidden corner somewhere, his mind a mess. Suddenly, he felt like he had just caught a glimpse of Kiew's familiar silhouette. Pitt instinctively followed to verify, and finally saw that she was really nearby. Panicked, he hurriedly avoided her, not wanting to let her recognize him. However, not long after, when Kiew appeared at a restaurant, Pitt accidentally saw her one more time, and he again chose to quietly leave. Finally, Pitt also learned that Kiew had enrolled at the very same school he was attending. He immediately went to find Che, his voice unable to hide his frustration, and asked if she had intentionally hidden this from him. Che admitted that she had indeed done that, with the reason being she wanted to protect his feelings, and didn't want him to get hurt more because of Kiew. Hearing that, Pitt coldly replied that he had never given her the right to decide his life. He emphasized that this was his own life, and how he wanted to live was his right, and no one could take his place. After saying that, Pitt turned his back and walked away, leaving Che standing silently behind, unable to say another word. Che was extremely sad, so she called Key. It turned out that Key had also arrived in Korea beforehand, and at that moment he was standing there watching Che and Pitt. Pitt turned back and apologized to Che for losing his temper. He hugged her in his arms. Key stood from afar watching that scene, and once again his poor heart was broken. Later, Pitt was in his room. He still kept Kiew's handkerchief. He had kept it carefully ever since then because somewhere in his heart Pitt still liked Kiew. He thought about their past memories. Meanwhile, Kiew was walking outside when she suddenly saw Pitt playing basketball. She approached and tried to strike up a conversation. Pitt saw Kiew and tried to run away, but Kiew chased after him and said she wanted to talk to him. Unfortunately, she slipped and was about to fall. Pitt caught her just in time. Pitt coldly told Kiew to leave, but she shook her head in refusal, saying she wanted to take him back home. Kiew earnestly advised him to go back, because his dad was extremely worried and always wished for his safety. However, Pitt still wouldn't listen. Assuming this was just another scheme Kiew set up to make him go soft. Facing that suspicion, Kiew patiently explained. She affirmed that she had absolutely no intention of targeting things that belonged to him, nor did she want to compete for anything. The only thing she longed for was that Peat could return home, because his dad was truly worrying about him day and night. Seeing Kieo's sincere concern, Peat's heart also melted. Finally, he agreed to return home. After that, the two of them went to eat at a restaurant and happily chatted together. Meanwhile, Che had arrived at Peat's place. She had called him until she was exhausted, so she decided to track his location and finally found the place where Kiew and Peat were happily together. Che was extremely sad, because she didn't want Kiew and Peat to meet again at all, or to put it more accurately, she didn't want Kiew to return to Peat's life. This moment, Kiew and Peat were walking together. Kiew suddenly slipped and Peat caught her just in time. Kiew secretly felt very happy because she had promised herself that one day she would definitely bring Peat back. At that place, Peat slowly apologized to Kiew, admitting that he had once caused her mom to suffer a lot of hurt. But Kiew just quietly shook her head, saying that she had let go of everything and didn't resent him anymore. In that moment, Peat leaned down to give Kiew a gentle kiss. Kiew didn't dodge, nor did she refuse, letting their emotions lead the way for both of them. After that, Kiew softly said that now that Peat was ready to return, he should go back home with her. But Peat gently refused. He said that he couldn't go right away because he still had one thing he needed to finish. When his studies were over, he would definitely return, and he hoped Kiew could wait for him a little longer. After clearing up the misunderstandings, Peat and Kiew went out to the basketball court together. The sound of laughter and talking rang out, dispelling some of the heaviness from before. Ending the play session, Peat took Kiew back to the hotel. Before parting, Kiew said that she would wait for him, and at the same time would explain everything to his dad so he could be more at ease, because he had been worried about Peat all this time. Peat nodded in agreement, once again affirming that he would only return after finishing his studies. Meanwhile, Che was heading back to the hotel with a heavy heart when she unexpectedly ran into Key, who was already there. Seeing Che looking down, Key softly asked what happened. Che lowered her head, her voice dropping, saying that he surely understood the reason why she was so sad. As for Peat, he later remembered that it had been a long time since he called Che. He called her up. Seeing his call, Che's anger immediately vanished. She was happy that Peat finally remembered her existence. Che decided she would find every way to push Kiew out of Peat's life and claim him all for herself. Hearing that, Key felt very sad and once again his poor heart was broken. In another turn of events, Pa was at a bar with friends to have some fun. She had no idea that this bar belonged to Ka. She was stunned to see Ka there because before that, the two of them had argued about the phone incident. Because of Ka, her new phone was broken, so she was still mad at him. Here, Ka actively tried to make up with Kiyo's friend. He took the mic and sang a song with a sincere tone, making the atmosphere settle down, and her anger also subsided somewhat. When it was time to pay, she walked to the counter and suddenly discovered that this restaurant was actually owned by Ka. She surprisingly asked if she needed to pay. Ka casually replied that of course she did, because he still needed money to maintain the place and prepare ingredients for the restaurant. Hearing that, she laughed, teasing that he was truly stingy, being the boss of such a big restaurant yet refusing to treat a guest to a meal. After saying that, she turned and walked away, leaving Ka just standing there with a sheepish smile. And from that moment, a new couple began to form in the story. Afterwards, Che made the decision to find every way to push Kiew out of Peat's life. When hearing this, Key couldn't hide his sadness, because he understood that from here on, everything would become even more complicated. As for Peat, he was in the hotel, quietly holding Kiyo's handkerchief. Old memories came rushing back, bringing up images of the days they used to be together. At the same time, Kiew was also alone, immersed in memories, recalling past moments with Peat, and her heart couldn't help but flutter. Not long after, while Peat was still at the hotel, Che appeared, bringing food and smiling as she asked him if he still remembered the existence of a friend, then suggested they have dinner together. She laid the food out on the table, happily inviting him to eat. Peat actually had urgent business and wanted to go meet Kiew, but Che's unexpected appearance made it inconvenient for him to leave. Noticing Peat acting strangely, Che asked if he was hiding something from her. She emphasized that they were close friends, and if he was sad, she was ready to listen, because that's what friends are for. Peat was about to say something, but in the end, he shook his head, denying it and saying there was nothing special. Che waited for him to open up, but Peat didn't mention that he had met Kiew at all. Elsewhere, Kiew was taking a cooking class. She focused on finishing each dish, so skillful and neat that people around her couldn't help but admire. After that, Kiew continued preparing many other dishes and carefully packed them up. When someone curiously asked the reason, Kiew smiled and replied that it was for a very important person in her life, and today she wanted to treat that person to these dishes. Carrying the food, Kiew went to find Peat, but didn't meet him and bumped into Che instead. Che struck up a conversation first, while Kiew frankly said that if she had something to say, she was ready to listen. At that moment, Che didn't beat around the bush. She directly demanded that Kiew leave Pitt's life, because she loved him very much. Those words made Kiew freeze for a moment, but she remained silent. Che went on to say that Kiew's appearance only made Pitt's life messier, and that in the past, Kiew had unfairly blamed Pitt out of grief. Now that his life was finally stabilizing, Che didn't want Kiew to come back and mess everything up again. Finally, Che frankly said that was her request, and if Kiew didn't leave on her own, she would find a way to keep Pitt by her side. Kiew quietly listened, not arguing back, letting those words fall into the heavy silence between them. Afterward, Kiew sat alone, looking sadly at the box of food. She decided not to give this food to Pitt, and threw it into the trash can. Right at that moment, Pitt saw her action and wondered why Kiew did that. After Kiew left, Pitt went over to the trash can, took the food box out and tasted it. He found it very delicious. Meanwhile, Kiew was drowning in sadness. To soothe himself, he decided to try creating a new dish in the restaurant. While Kiew was focused on cooking, Kiew unexpectedly appeared. Seeing the dish still steaming on the stove, she seemed very interested and asked to taste it. He smiled and agreed, telling her to go ahead and try it, then give him some feedback. Kiew took a bite, her eyes lighting up with surprise, unable to hide her praise for the rich flavor of the dish. Thanks to meetings and chats like that, Kiew and Kiew gradually spent more time together, forming a close and sincere friendship. As for Pitt's dad, his worry for his son never lessened. He repeatedly asked his secretary to find a way to urge Pitt to return soon, so he could feel somewhat at ease. Elsewhere, Pitt and Che were taking graduation photos together. Time quietly passed, and it had been a few years since the previous incidents. Pitt couldn't hide his excitement when thinking about the day he would return to Thailand, because deep down, he always longed to see Kiew again. He and Che discussed their plans to return home, preparing for a new journey. At the same time, Kiew had also finished her studies. She visited her mom's resting place, carrying pride and mixed emotions. Mr. Nye walked beside her, always silently supporting her. He looked at the photo and gently said that she had grown up and done many things to be proud of, as if he wanted the person resting there to be at peace too. Later, Pitt read online that his dad had adopted Kiew. Hearing this news, Pitt was extremely angry and blamed Kiew, calling her a liar. He assumed that everything she said was a lie, and that she really came here for his assets. He swore he would take back everything from her. And once again, the wall of hatred was built between the two. As for Kiew, she was really looking forward to seeing Pitt again and was gazing at the gift he had given her. After that, she went to meet Kiew. Since they had spent a lot of time together, they had become very close friends. Right at that moment, Pitt appeared. He saw Kiew with his friend Kiew, looking very happy. He came here to ruin her happiness, but when he saw Kiew with Kiew, Pitt felt jealous. Elsewhere, Mr. Nye was announcing to the media that from now on, Kiew would take over his business operations. Kiew was very happy to be able to help Pitt's dad. Right at that moment, Pitt appeared. This was the first time he had appeared in front of his dad after so many years. Seeing his son, Nye was extremely happy. Then, he announced that from now on, both of his children would manage the business together. But Pitt didn't agree to let Kiew participate in the business. He said in front of the media that she had never studied business economics, so how could she manage it? But Kiew was very smart. She replied that anything could be learned. After that was a meeting between Che and Kiew. Kiew tried to strike up a conversation with Che, but she didn't pay any attention and walked away. On the other hand, Mr. Nye finally announced that whoever performed better in the business would inherit the entire company, whether it was Kiew or his son Pitt. Very soon after, Pitt bluntly told his dad that he made a bad call by letting Kiew join the family business. Those cold words left Kiew stunned. She suddenly saw a side of Pitt that felt like a total stranger. He looked exactly like the person he was in the past, the one she used to be so afraid to face. Feeling uneasy, Kiew turned to walk away. Right then, Pitt stepped up, grabbed her hand, and pulled her into a private room. With a sarcastic voice, he said everything happened just like she wanted, that she finally got what she was after and became his business partner. He said from now on things would get even more interesting. Kiew was confused and didn't understand what Pitt was hinting at. She denied it, saying she didn't have any plans like he claimed. But Pitt kept being suspicious, thinking Kiew was playing a game while acting like she knew nothing. Meanwhile, Che still stood by Pitt, promising that no matter what he needed, she would always be there for him, regardless of the situation. That support made Pitt feel a bit better. As for Kiew, seeing Che care about Pitt more than anyone else once again made his heart feel squeezed. Unable to take it anymore, he quietly left. A while later, the four old friends got a chance to meet again after many years apart. They decided to throw a little party to talk about old times. While they were chatting, Pitt suddenly asked Kiew if he and Kiew were becoming more than friends. That question made Kiew angry, and the two started a heated argument, all revolving around Kiew. Che tried to step in and stop them, but the tension didn't go down. In the middle of the chaos, Che accidentally had a mishap that caused her pain. Seeing that, the argument between the two finally ended. In the next scene, Pitt's dad met Kiew to thank her for agreeing to work for him like he asked. Kiew humbly said it was her duty since he had helped her so much over the years. At the same time, he saw Pitt taking care of Che way too attentively. That sight made it impossible for him to stay. Carrying his sadness, he quietly left, leaving behind a friendship that wasn't as whole as it used to be. Right after that, Che went to see Kiew and blamed her, saying she was the reason for the fight between the two friends yesterday. Only then did Kiew find out they had an argument. She went to see Key to find out what happened. He said they just had a little fight, nothing big. As for Pitt, after many years away, he finally came home. The maid saw him and happily ran to welcome him. Pitt's dad was also there. He saw his son and was very happy because his son was finally back. At the house, Pitt told his dad he was wrong to let Kiew join the business. But his dad said he made the right decision. After that, Kiew had a hard time managing the business since she didn't know much about economics. She thought she would have to learn from someone and Key helped her. She was really happy someone was willing to help. Key told Kiew not to worry about anything. He would teach her business and help her out. Meanwhile, it was very late but Kiew hadn't come home yet. Pitt was waiting for her when he saw her return, but he was shocked to see her with Key. Seeing them together made Pitt feel jealous. Kiew thanked Key for teaching her about business, but Key said friends don't need to thank each other. He said it was late and she should go to bed. Finally, Kiew said goodbye to Key and left. That night, Pitt couldn't sleep because he saw Kiew and Key together, while Kiew was sitting and studying, focusing on the business knowledge she had to master. But no matter how hard she tried to focus, her mind kept drifting back to Pitt and the good times they once had. Thinking too much made her feel thirsty, so Kiew got up to go to the kitchen for water. Right then, Pitt suddenly showed up behind her. He quickly held Kiew back so she couldn't move. Pitt basically just dumped all his suspicions on her, with no plan to listen to her explanation. He grilled Kiew about her relationship with Key, saying she'd been spending too much time with him lately. Kiew calmly told him that Key is her friend, and she has the right to go anywhere and do anything with her friends. That answer just made Pitt more annoyed. He was clearly jealous and told Kiew to keep her distance from Key. But Kiew firmly refused, saying Key is a good friend who always helps her a lot, and she doesn't want to lose that friendship. When Pitt asked why she cared about Key so much, Kiew didn't say anything. She just tried to get out of the suffocating situation and left quickly, leaving Pitt there with a lot of unanswered questions. Pitt knew he had to figure out why Kiew and Key were getting so close. In another scene, Kiew was on the phone with her friend, not knowing that Ka accidentally heard the whole conversation. When the call ended, Kiew turned around and was startled to see Ka standing right there. The friend with Kiew half-jokingly asked if he made a habit of eavesdropping on girls' conversations. Ka quickly explained he didn't mean to. He just heard a few words because he was standing too close. Then, Ka came up with a plan to fix the friendship between Key and Pitt. He invited both of them to his restaurant, hoping they could sit down, talk honestly, and make up. However, every time the conversation mentioned Kiew, neither Key nor Pitt would give in, because at this point both of them had feelings for Kiew. Key had lost Che once and he didn't want to feel that way again. That's why the talk quickly turned into a fight. Thanks to Ka stepping in at the right time, things calmed down a bit. But as they left the restaurant, Key and Pitt kept going back and forth at each other. Ka could only helplessly try to give them advice, reminding them that they're still friends no matter what, and they shouldn't let things go too far. Kiew's stress was through the roof when Key showed up with lunch and asked her to eat with him. Because she valued their friendship, Kiew couldn't say no. Mr. Nye also tasted the food Key brought and didn't hold back in praising his cooking. However, Kiew barely touched her food, her sadness clear on her face. Key gently put some food on her plate, advising her to eat a bit. Right then, Pitt walked up and saw everyone chatting happily. Jealousy and annoyance surged through him, and he quietly left. After that, Pitt was drinking with friends. Ka advised him to stop because it wasn't good for his health, but Pitt ignored him and kept drinking. Right at that moment, Kiew appeared, gently took the glass from his hand, and said she had something to say. Pitt, in a bad mood, coldly replied that now wasn't the right time to hear her explanation, and told her she'd better leave. Even so, Kiew still tried to talk. The tension rose so high that Pitt lost control, accidentally knocking things over around them, which caused Kiew to get a scratch on her arm. He didn't notice that. He just grabbed his helmet and left, leaving Kiew standing silently in the empty space. After that, Pitt was very angry and kept thinking about his dad's words. He drove at very high speed. As for Pitt's dad, he felt something was wrong so he called Pitt, but he didn't answer. While Pitt was driving very fast, a car suddenly appeared, causing him to have an accident. Kiew and Mr. Nye rushed to the hospital after receiving a call that Pitt had an incident on the road. Pitt's dad was so panicked that he immediately ran there, his face unable to hide his shock. His friends also quickly gathered there. The doctor announced that Pitt's condition was very serious due to losing a lot of blood, requiring urgent medical intervention. Hearing the news, Mr. Nye almost collapsed, his mind blank, not knowing how to react. In that chaos, Che turned to blame Kiew, claiming that ever since Kiew appeared in Pitt's life, he constantly met with misfortune. However, he immediately spoke up, calmly reminding Che that at the time of the incident, Kiew wasn't present at all, and this was just an accidental mishap. Dazed by the blame, Kiew quietly went to the restroom to wash her face, trying to calm herself down. Not long after, Che also walked in. In a fit of rage, she forced Kiew's head down over the sink, loudly blaming her and asking if she understood how much pain it felt, saying that Pitt was also suffering like that right now. Che believed everything started with Kiew, repeating the demand that Kiew stay away from Pitt and leave his life. After saying that, she let Kiew go and gave a final warning before walking away. Meanwhile, Pitt was taken into the operating room. After many hours of tense waiting, the intervention finally ended successfully, and Pitt gradually woke up. Kiew and his dad went in to visit. Seeing Pitt in such a weak state, Kiew couldn't hide her worry. She held his hand, chokingly telling him never to be so reckless again, that everyone had been very worried about him and hoping he would think about those who cared for him. Not long after, Pitt's friends also came to visit and check on the situation. Pitt reassured everyone that he was doing much better. When the friends left, Che stayed behind, saying she would take care of him all night because she was so worried. That night, Che stayed at the hospital next to Pitt. The next morning, Che went to Pitt's house. While no one was paying attention, she sneaked into Kiew's room and took a strand of hair left on the comb. After that, Che brought the hair to Pitt, softly saying that he didn't need to be so stressed, and that they could use it for a DNA test to confirm the relationship between Kiew and his dad. After a moment of hesitation, Pitt agreed to that suggestion. When he received the DNA test results, Pitt was stunned. The words confirming a match made him unable to believe his eyes. A feeling of emptiness and heaviness spread through his chest because it meant that what his dad said was the truth. Kiew really was his daughter. However, whether that result was completely accurate remained an unsolved mystery. In a fit of confusion, Pitt angrily threw the report on the ground. Right then, Kiew walked in and also saw the paper lying on the floor. He leaned down to take a glance, then said in a low voice that if so, Pitt's dad's words really weren't a lie, and Kiew was indeed his daughter. Pitt still stood motionless, his mind in chaos, not knowing how to face this truth. Not long after, his dad and Kiew came to visit. But instead of welcoming them, Pitt acted cold and harsh, talking to them in a grumpy tone and demanding they both leave. He frankly stated that he had done a DNA test and the result showed the biological relationship was real. In a state of frustration, Pitt didn't want to continue any conversation. He asked everyone to leave him alone. His dad tried to explain, hoping his son would calm down, but Pitt had no intention of listening at this point. He just turned his face away, closing the door between himself and everyone else. After that, Kiew talked to her friend to vent her feelings. She told her friend about the DNA report. Her friend comforted her and said that she needed to be patient. People went to visit Pitt to see how he was doing, but they were stunned when they didn't see him there. Koki and Pitt's dad all went to look for him, but no one found him. It turned out Pitt had gone to his mom's grave. Whenever something happened, he always came here. He told his mom about his situation, that he had no idea everything would turn out like this. Mr. Nye also came here to find his son, but Pitt had already left. Because she was so worried, Kiew went to the basketball court where Pitt usually goes, but he wasn't there today. She called him, but he didn't answer and was sitting drinking alone in a bar. Kiew called repeatedly and finally Pitt had to answer. But he told her to hang up immediately and said from now on never to call him again. Kiew tried to talk to him, but Pitt got angry and hung up. Kiew was very worried and started searching for him in the surrounding areas. Kiew suddenly saw two strangers struggling with Pitt, trying to steal his wallet. When she ran over, Pitt had fallen to the ground, looking very distressed. Kiew frantically asked him what happened, but Pitt was still drowning in frustration and booze. He waved her away, loudly telling her to leave, his voice so irritable that people around started to notice, and some even held up their phones to record the scene. Not wanting things to get louder, Kiew softly advised him to leave this place and then helped him to another spot. However, Pitt flatly refused to go home. When Kiew mentioned going back to rest, he gave a dry laugh and coldly said he would never go back to that house, which belonged to her dad. The alcohol made Pitt lose control. He suddenly leaned toward Kiew, but before he could do anything, he passed out. Kiew quickly caught him, let his head rest on her lap and sat still, worriedly watching his face. Right then, Pa called to ask if she had found Pitt yet. Kiew was about to answer when Pitt woke up. He grabbed the phone, decisively hung up and warned her in a low voice. He said if Kiew told anyone she had found him, he would disappear again, and he believed she knew exactly how good he was at avoiding people. He even reminded her how he had left before, only regretting that she eventually found him. After that, Pitt took Kiew back to her mom's house in a heavy silence, as if both had too many unspoken thoughts. It turned out Kiew had returned to Mr. Nye's house. She said she found Pitt. He told her not to tell anyone. If he knew she told his dad, he might run away again. She said to wait until things stabilized, and then she would tell him where Pitt was. Her dad agreed. After that, Kiew talked to her friend. She sat there thinking about Pitt, that he had finally returned. The next day, Pitt tried to sleep after being injured, but because of the pain he couldn't sleep. He remembered when he was drunk, Kiew had kissed his forehead and taken care of him. He kept thinking about those things and fell asleep. Meanwhile, Kiew was cooking for Pitt. She wondered if he had eaten yet, so she decided to cook and bring it to him. She made a lot of dishes. The maid came and asked who she was cooking so much for. She said she was cooking for a very special person. The maid offered to help, but Kiew said no thanks, she could do it herself. The maid saw the food looked delicious and praised Kiew for being a great cook. Kiew packed all the food to bring to Pitt. After that, Kiew went to the mall to shop for Pitt. She saw a cake shop and thought she would buy a cake for Pitt. Finally, she bought a cake for him. Meanwhile, Ki Ka and Che were sitting together chatting. But no one knew where Pitt was currently. Ki looked at Che and spoke slowly, saying she must know Pitt's whereabouts since her feelings for him were so deep. But Che just shook her head, admitting that even though she loved him, Pitt hadn't let her know where he was. While the conversation was still going on, Ki suddenly received a video. He opened it and was stunned to see Pitt in a drunken state, lying in the street looking exhausted. However, Ki didn't say anything to Che or Ka. He quietly kept it a secret, waiting until they both left to decide what to do next. Not long after that, Che decided to go look for Pitt herself. She went to see Mr. Nye and asked if he knew where his son was. He frankly answered that Pitt was with Kiew. Hearing that, Che stood frozen for a moment and then hurriedly left, her heart a mess of emotions. As for Pitt, when he woke up, the first thing he saw was Kiew nearby. He asked in surprise why she was here so early in the morning. Kiew calmly answered that she brought his personal belongings from home, and then gently told him to take a shower to wake up. Noticing Pitt was still in pain, Kiew offered to help him apply medicine to feel better. Pitt immediately refused, saying he could do it himself, but Kiew wouldn't give in, patiently explaining that if he didn't take care of it properly, his condition would hardly improve. While they were going back and forth, the distance between them gradually closed. Finally, facing Kiew's constant pleading, Pitt reluctantly agreed. He took off his shirt, speaking with an air of indifference. That gesture startled Kiew. She backed up and accidentally fell onto the sofa. Pitt approached her, his voice a bit teasing, asking why she stopped. Kiew quickly waved her hands, saying he should take a shower first. Seeing her flustered reaction, Pitt just laughed. A while later, Pitt was in the bathroom. It was hard to explain why he started listening to Kiew so easily. When he walked out, Kiew was waiting. She offered to help dry his hair, then gently used a towel to wipe each wet strand. Pitt's face clouded over with a sadness that was hard to hide. Kiew continued to brush his hair, occasionally playing with a few strands, making the atmosphere between them soften, as if previous tensions were put aside for now. Meanwhile, Ki had finally finished watching the whole video. He saw Pitt unconscious on the street, but then he saw Kiew was also there taking care of Pitt. He realized that Kiew knew where Pitt was. He felt very hurt because Kiew didn't tell him. As for Pitt, he was sitting and eating dinner. On the table were dishes prepared by Kiew herself, looking both tempting and cozy. Pitt couldn't hide his satisfaction, eating while looking at her with eyes softer than usual. He invited Kiew to sit and eat with him, but she shook her head, softly saying he needed the nourishment more than she did right now. Just then, Kiew's phone rang. Pitt glanced at the screen and said half-jokingly that she should answer it, as it was probably someone important calling. Kiew softly replied that the most important person right now was him, and then she took the call. On the other end, Ki asked to meet Kiew and said he had something very important to tell her, making Kiew hesitate, her heart filled with an unnamed intuition. Kiew went to meet Ki. Ki showed her the video and asked if she knew where Pitt was. Kiew said nothing. She only said that if she told him, Pitt had threatened to disappear again, and she didn't want him going anywhere. Ki saw Kiew caring for Pitt way too much. He felt hurt and was about to leave. Just then Pitt called. Kiew talked on the phone. Ki finally decided that this time he wouldn't lose Kiew. He had lost Che once and he didn't want to lose Kiew too. Ki was working in his restaurant when Kiew came and asked to leave. Ki wanted Kiew to stay with him, but Kiew was worried about Pitt, so she left. Ki felt hurt. Meanwhile, Pitt was at his mom's house. He remembered his mom used to read a diary. He started searching for that diary and found it in a drawer his mom had put away. He took the diary out, read it, and cried a lot because his mom was no longer by his side. He kept reading the diary. In it, his mom wrote many details about him and even included a photo of him. After that, Kiew went to see Pitt. It turned out Mr. Nye had his secretary follow Kiew to find out where his son was. and Kiew had also followed Kiew and also knew where Peat was. When Kiew returned home, she didn't see Peat anywhere. An uneasy feeling immediately surged in her heart, making her frantically run to find him everywhere. She was afraid he had left again like before. Finally, when she opened the room door, Kiew froze. Peat was sitting there, quietly shedding tears. She slowly approached, not understanding why he was like that. Peat choked out that he missed his mom, and that the people he loved seemed to leave him one by one. In that moment of weakness, he looked at Kiew and asked if she would leave him like the others. Kiew softly answered that she would never do that. Meanwhile, Che called Mr. Nye, saying she had urgent business and needed him to go with her. Although he was preparing for an important meeting because Che kept pleading, he finally agreed. She said she would come pick him up directly instead of sending an address. As for Peat and Kiew, after all the misunderstandings and hurt, they decided to set aside the past and start over. In that private and warm moment, Che suddenly appeared along with Peat's dad. Seeing the scene before him, he was extremely angry. Che was also stunned, completely not expecting things to turn out this way. Peat immediately reassured Kiew, saying she didn't need to worry, as he would explain everything to his dad himself. That broke Che's heart, making her realize clearly that she had been an outsider in his life for a while now. Peat stepped outside and bluntly told his dad that he and Kiew loved each other and wanted to be together for a long time. Hearing those words, Che couldn't hold back her emotions and quietly left. While Che was sitting alone crying, Kiew appeared. He gently comforted her, advising that in Peat's life now there was someone else, and that person was Kiew. Kiew said that Peat truly valued Kiew, so maybe Che also needed to learn to let go. But Che still shook her head, saying she couldn't forget Peat because her feelings for him were too deep. Elsewhere, Kiew was working in the kitchen when Peat came up and wrapped his arms around her from behind. Kiew said she wouldn't force him to make any decisions, only hoping he would do what truly made him happy. Peat replied that he had feelings for her for a long time, even since their school years. It was just that he never dared to admit it back then. He took Kiew's hand and placed a gentle kiss on it. Finally, after a lot of thinking, Mr. Khan agreed to let the two of them be together. Before the big day, he called Kiew for a private talk and asked if she truly had feelings for Peat. Kiew nodded and said she really cherished him. Meanwhile, Che was still stuck in stress and heartbreak. She went to see Peat and Kiew was also there. Kiew advised her that Peat had made his own choice, and she should also try to move on with her life. But Che burst into tears, saying she didn't know how to live without Peat. Kiew didn't say anything more. He just quietly held her in his arms so she could lean on him in that moment of weakness. Later, Peat went to meet Ka and said he loved Kiew very much and was about to marry her. Kiew also informed Pa that she was about to marry Peat. Kiew was sitting alone when Peat called. They had a very romantic conversation. After that, Peat looked at the necklace his dad had given him. He decided to go see his dad. He went to the office to meet Mr. Nye. He was very happy to see his son wearing the necklace he gave him. He was very impressed. There, they decided to hold the wedding for Kiew and Peat soon. In a fit of rage, Che stormed into Kiew's office. She picked up the photo of Kiew's mom and in a sarcastic voice, said that Kiew was just like her mother, always wanting to take things that didn't belong to her, including Peat. Those words made Kiew unable to take it anymore. She stood up abruptly, gave Che a slap, and coldly warned her that from now on, she should think carefully before mentioning her mother. Caught completely off guard, Che lost control even more. She immediately fought back, hitting Kiew back hard and grabbing her hair in a rage. The whole office was in chaos, and all the employees were stunned watching the scene. Right then, Peat appeared. As soon as he saw Che attacking Kiew, he immediately pulled Che away and shielded Kiew behind him. Che couldn't hold back her emotions and started blaming Peat, saying she loved him a lot, but had never been respected or valued by him. Peat bluntly replied that he never saw Che as anything more than a friend, and it was best for her to leave. Without saying another word, Che turned and left in resentment. Peat quickly turned to check on Kiew, worried if she was in pain. Kiew shook her head and said she was fine. Then, she took the initiative to tell Peat that she wouldn't force him to do anything, and if he really had feelings for Che, he was completely free to choose to be with her. Peat once again affirmed that between him and Che, it was purely friendship, and he never had any other thoughts. Leaving the office in a state of humiliation, Che felt hurt and lost face. While crying, she went to Kiew and told him that Peat had taken Kiew's side and even bluntly kicked her out. In Che's heart, an extreme determination began to form. She wouldn't accept defeat easily and would find every way to push Kiew out of Peat's life. To help Che feel better, Kiew took her ice skating, but he had no experience at all, and as soon as he stepped onto the rink, he wobbled and fell down. Che rushed to help him up, finding it funny but also scolding him, asking why he tried if he didn't know how to skate. Kiew smiled awkwardly and said that as long as he saw her smile, it was worth it no matter how many times he fell. Eventually, Che was the one who patiently taught Kiew step by step, and the atmosphere between them gradually became lighter. Later, Pitt and Kiew went wedding shopping together. Kiew took Pitt's phone and set a photo of both of them as the wallpaper for both phones, and said he wasn't allowed to change it. In her wedding dress, Kiew looked very beautiful. When Pitt saw her, he couldn't take his eyes off her. Finally, the ceremonies were completed, and their wedding took place. Kiew's father, Mr. Nye, gave his blessing to both of them. Right at that moment, Che appeared and saw that Pitt and Kiew had gotten married. She left and cried a lot. He advised her that she should also move on with her life, but Che said she couldn't move on without Pitt. After that was Pitt and Kiew's wedding night. Pitt pulled his hand away from Kiew's, went into the bathroom, changed his clothes, and put on regular clothes to go out. Kiew asked where he was going, but Pitt said he had business to attend to and didn't feel it was necessary to tell her. Kiew asked again, but Pitt didn't answer and told her to go to sleep. He would be back late. Then he left despite Kiew trying to stop him. Meanwhile, Mr. Nye was very happy that his daughter had finally gotten married. Kiew was very worried, not knowing where Pitt went so late at night. Mr. Nye arrived and saw that Pitt wasn't there. He asked Kiew. Kiew said that he had business and had to go out. It turned out that Pitt had gone to meet Che. In a flashback, Pitt had told Che about his revenge plan beforehand. He would marry Kiew and then betray her. Che completely supported Pitt and said she would always be by his side. In another scene, Mr. Nye asked Kiew what business Pitt had that required him to go out so late at night, especially on their wedding night. Mr. Nye remembered the past. How when he married Pitt's mother, he had also walked out of the room on their wedding night. Mr. Nye was very stressed. After that was a scene between Pitt and Che. Che knew the whole plan but still pretended like she didn't know anything. When Pitt appeared, she took the initiative to approach him, intentionally acting intimate and trying to seduce him. Pitt coldly said that he had more important things to handle, so he had to leave. Che gave a dry laugh and asked if there was anything else since everything was going exactly as he planned. Meanwhile, Key and Che were sitting in Ka's restaurant. Ka seemed surprised and asked why Pitt appeared there. Since today was the first night after the wedding and he should have been with Kiew. Pitt drank a lot of alcohol and in an annoyed voice, said that Ka didn't need to care where he should be. From Che, Key learned the truth that Pitt married Kiew not because of feelings, but only to retaliate against the past. That caused Key and Pitt to have a heated argument. Later, Pitt returned home in an exhausted state. Kiew gently asked him why he left on the very first night after the wedding, but Pitt didn't answer. Noticing he had signs of an injury, Kiew stepped closer. Seeing that he was fast asleep, she intended to lie down next to him, but then the words she heard earlier came back to her mind. She remembered that this marriage didn't come from love, but was just a setup intended to hurt her. Kiew turned her back and tears quietly fell. She didn't understand what she had done wrong to have to endure such things. The next day, Pitt took Che to the office. Just seeing Che appear by his side was enough to break Kiew's heart. She couldn't hold back her tears. Right then Key called. Kiew answered, and her shaky voice made Key realize immediately that she was crying. He said he would come right over. In the opposite office, Pitt intentionally acted close with Che, as if he wanted to provoke Kiew. At that moment he saw Key show up. Key went over to Kiew, intending to take her away. A wave of uncontrollable jealousy rose inside Pitt. He stepped forward, stopped Kiew, and demanded she not go with Key. But Kiew looked straight at him and said she had no reason to listen to someone who never cared about her feelings or her life and only knew how to hurt her time after time. After saying that, Kiew walked away with Key, leaving Pitt standing there in anger. Pitt went back to his office and couldn't control his emotions, taking his anger out on the furniture around him. Che hurried over to stop him, trying to calm him down. Later, when Kiew told Key the whole truth about her marriage, that Pitt only married her for revenge, Key stayed silent for a while and then advised her that maybe she should give Pitt one more chance, because behind that coldness and hurt, there might still be things left unsaid. After that, Pitt even brought Che to live at his house, which hurt Kiew very much. His dad tried to stop him and said this was his house, but Pitt didn't listen and said Che was sick, so she would stay at their house for a few days. That hurt Kiew deeply. She cried and almost got into a car accident while driving. Then, Kiew went to her mom's house. She hugged her mom's photo and cried a lot. Just then Pitt also arrived. Seeing Kiew cry, Pitt also felt extremely hurt. At this time, Pa came to visit her. While chatting, she accidentally revealed that Pitt and Che seemed to have a shady relationship. That news made Kiew even more confused. Not long after, Mr. Nye also came to see her. There he learned about Kiew's intention to get a divorce. He gently advised her that Pitt might not love her, but she was the one who had sincere feelings for him. Therefore, instead of rushing to let go, Kiew should give herself a chance, which would also give this marriage a way out. Meanwhile, Pitt was at Key's restaurant and found that the place was almost completely trashed. It turned out that Key's brother and mother didn't want him to start a business on his own, so they stepped in to stop him. Seeing that, Ka suggested Pitt help Key by giving him a position in the company. After thinking for a moment, Pitt agreed and took the initiative to invite Kiew to work with him. The next day, Kiew went to the company and happened to run into Che. The two quickly got into an argument. Kiew bluntly pointed out that Che had become selfish and was no longer the person who used to always support and understand him. Those words made Che leave in anger. She went to Pitt, using the excuse that she missed him and was too bored at home alone. But Pitt was under a lot of pressure and in a tense mood, so he coldly told Che to leave. That made her feel deeply hurt. As Pitt was about to leave the company, he ran into Pa. She blamed Pitt for making Kiew break down and even intended to hit him. Right then, Ka appeared and stopped her in time. The two had a fierce argument, and she kept resenting Pitt for ruining her friend's life. A while later, Mr. Nye called Pitt into the office and announced that he had to go on an important business trip. Pitt accepted and arranged the trip. Coincidentally, Kiew also got a business assignment, and the destination happened to be where Pitt was staying. After a long trip, Kiew tiredly returned to her hotel room, intending to rest. While she was getting ready to change clothes, Pitt suddenly appeared. Caught in that situation, Kiew panicked and tried to leave, but Pitt held her back and questioned how she knew he was there. Kiew insisted she didn't know about this coincidence beforehand. She only came for work. Pitt suspected again that she was intentionally following him. Later, Kiew talked to Mr. Nye and accidentally found out that he was the one who arranged this business trip, hoping the two would have a chance to be together and clear up the misunderstandings. Pitt was standing outside and heard the entire conversation. When facing Kiew, he said straight out that he knew everything. Kiew didn't deny it. She just quietly hugged him and whispered that if he would spend time with her, one day he would realize his feelings. In the following days, Pitt and Kiew had a fairly peaceful time together. When Kiew was hungry, they went to a restaurant together to eat. Kiew happily took photos of Pitt, but that action made him act annoyed. Pitt coldly said that no matter what she did, he still hated her, then walked away alone, leaving Kiew behind. However, after walking for a while, Pitt suddenly realized Kiew hadn't returned yet. A strange feeling of worry rose up in his heart. Meanwhile, Kiew was sitting alone, stressed out and drinking alcohol to relax. Right then, Pitt came back and advised her not to drink too much. Kiew gave a bitter laugh, saying he was the one who made her so miserable that she could only find escape in alcohol. Without saying another word, Pitt wrapped his arm around her, pulled her onto his shoulder, and took her away. After that, Pitt took Kiew back to her room and laid her on the bed. With the person she loved most right in front of her, romantic moments began to happen. Kiew looked at Pitt, saw that he was very handsome, and intended to kiss him. Pitt refused, but because Kiew kept insisting on a kiss, Pitt couldn't help himself and finally kissed her. Because Kiew had drunk too much alcohol, she started to throw up. Pitt took care of her. Kiew acted like a child and slept in the bathtub. Pitt carried her out, put her on the bed, and looked after her. Deep down, Pitt still had feelings for Kiew. However, stubborn thoughts and obsessions from the past made it impossible for him to stop resenting her. In Pitt's eyes, Kiew was always linked to the image of the mother, who he believed had ruined his own mother's life. That very conflict made him both want to pull Kiew close and constantly hurt her. When Kiew woke up, she looked at Pitt cautiously and softly asked how he felt being with her. Pitt didn't answer. In reality, he was the one who had called Che to this place. Not long after, Kiew also appeared. Realizing his presence would only make things more messy, Kiew forced Che to leave, because he didn't want anyone coming between Pitt and Kiew. Pitt also intended to follow Che, but Kiew panicked and held him back, her voice trembling as she begged him not to leave her alone. Elsewhere, Kiew tried to advise Che that Pitt had started moving on with his life, and she should do the same, but Che completely lost control. She gave Kiew a slap and screamed that she would never be able to live on without Pitt. When Kiew reacted inappropriately, Che gave him another hit to vent the resentment building up inside her. After that, Pitt suddenly kicked Kiew out of the room. Kiew panicked and stood outside the door, repeatedly asking him to open it, but Pitt coldly ignored her. Having no other choice, she had to go look for a spare key. Right then, Che came back to find Pitt, continuing to use seductive words and gestures to hold on to him. When Kiew returned and opened the room door, the sight before her left her stunned. Pitt was with Che. Seeing Kiew, Pitt didn't explain at all. Instead, he intentionally kissed Che as a way to provoke her. Kiew's heart felt like it was being squeezed. She painfully realized that her husband was giving his attention to someone else. In despair, Kiew decided to end it all. She said she couldn't continue this marriage anymore because Pitt loved someone else, and she asked for a divorce. But Pitt coldly refused. He said things weren't over yet, that he hadn't taken enough revenge on her. Finally, Kiew returned to Thailand with Key. On the way, a tired Kiew told Key not to tell her dad anything that happened in South Korea. Key looked at her with worry but still nodded in agreement, respecting her choice and the silence she was trying to keep. Mr. Nye saw that Kiew was back and asked why she came home alone. Kiew lied to her dad because she didn't want him to be sad. The next day, Kiew was getting ready for work when she saw that Pitt and Che had returned. Kiew asked the maid to move all her clothes out of Pitt's room and move them to another room. After that she went to work. News spread that Pitt was not Mr. Nye's biological son. This made his dad very worried. He asked in the office who had leaked this news. When Pitt arrived, reporters surrounded him and asked if it was true that he wasn't Mr. Nye's biological son. Just then Kiew appeared. The reporters turned toward her and asked if she was the biological daughter of Mr. Nye, such a big businessman. They kept asking questions about why and when everything happened like that. Pitt was stunned, not understanding what was going on. Company employees came and took Kiew and Pitt out of the circle of reporters. As for Key, he was smirking because he was the one who had leaked that news. He wanted to help Kiew. Kiew was extremely confused, not knowing who was behind leaking those harmful news. Her dad couldn't hide his worry either, constantly thinking of ways to deal with it. On the contrary, Pitt immediately turned to blame Kiew, thinking she was the one who intentionally spread information to take over the whole company. Even though Kiew tried hard to deny it and stated she didn't do that, Pitt still refused to believe her. Just when the atmosphere was most suffocating, Key appeared. Seeing Pitt shouting and hurting Kiew, he immediately pushed Pitt away and firmly said that if Kiew said she was innocent, it meant she didn't do it. Right after that, the company secretary walked in, telling Mr. Nye that some important businessmen were waiting to meet him. Realizing the meeting couldn't be delayed, Mr. Nye had to leave. He also quickly took Kiew away from there. After going outside, he gave Kiew a cup of coffee and softly reassured her not to worry too much. He said he would solve everything himself and find the person behind the leak. However, Kiew had no idea that Key was actually the one who started all of this. During an internal investigation, Key discovered signs of financial embezzlement in the company. Following the clues, he quickly identified T, the secretary, as the person involved because he was in debt and took a risk. After knowing the truth, Key took the initiative to meet T privately, frankly offering a condition. If he cooperated, Key would keep his identity secret and not let the matter break out in the company. Otherwise, the consequences would be unpredictable. Out of fear, T accepted the deal. Key gave him a large sum of money and asked him to find every way to smear Pitt, with the goal of making it impossible for Pitt to stay in the company. Not long after, all the shareholders were present at the company. They bluntly questioned Mr. Nye about the spreading rumors and expressed concern that if the information was true, they would have to reconsider cooperating. Just as Mr. Nye was struggling to answer, Kiew appeared. Under everyone's prying eyes, Kiew spoke up calmly. She cleverly redirected the attention, affirming that the person being blamed was her husband, as she and Pitt were legally married. Not stopping there, Kiew also took the initiative to invite reporters over, and publicly declared that the spreading news was untrue. She emphasized that she and Pitt were husband and wife, managing the company together and would continue to do so in the future, ensuring nothing would happen to worry the partners. Pitt heard all of those words. Standing silently for a moment, he said nothing more, just quietly turned and walked away, leaving behind a situation that seemed stable but actually still contained many rifts. After things settled down, Kiew returned home. As soon as she walked in, Pitt grabbed her hand, his voice dropping as he said he wanted to talk. Kiew coldly pulled her hand away, looked straight at him, and asked repeatedly what he was actually thinking and if he planned to end this marriage. The question made Pitt angry. He replied that the divorce would be for later, because he had a more important matter to handle first. Kiew turned to leave, but Pitt held her back and demanded she go with him. Even though Kiew protested, he still reluctantly dragged her along. From afar, Key witnessed the whole scene. The next day, Pitt put Kiew in the car and drove her to a desolate place. There, he bluntly said that no one was around so she didn't need to keep acting. He demanded Kiew tell the truth about why she stood up to help him. Kiew calmly replied that it was only because she loved Pitt and couldn't watch him fall into suffering. However, Pitt didn't believe her. He thought those words were just lies and kept forcing her to tell the truth. Even so, Kiew only repeated one sentence, that she helped him because her feelings for him were real. After saying that, she turned and walked away. The two of them then returned home. Pitt declared Kiew had to stay in his room since she was still his wife in name. Kiew flatly refused. When Pitt intentionally pressured her, Che saw it and immediately ran down the stairs, pretending she couldn't stand steadily. Seeing Che about to fall, Pitt immediately ran to catch her. Kiew stood from a distance, watching quietly. Che weakly asked Pitt to take her back to her room. He did so, laid her down on the bed, and intended to leave. But Che grabbed his hand and softly said she didn't want to be alone. In the end, Pitt stayed by her side. All of that was seen by Kiew, making her heart heavy. Kiew went back to her room and told the maid not to move her things to Pitt's room. That night, she didn't enter his room but slept in her private room. When Pitt returned to his room and saw Kiew wasn't there, he went to knock on her door. Kiew opened it but firmly refused to go to the room with him, then quickly closed the door. The next morning, Kiew was getting ready for work when Pitt was already waiting. He blamed her for not opening the door last night and even said that even if she closed it, he still stood there waiting for a long time. He emphasized that they were still husband and wife because they hadn't ended the marriage relationship yet. Kiew didn't want to argue more, so she kicked his leg hard and coldly said to save it for later, as she had to go to work because it was late. Not long after Mr. Nye called Peat in and said that Kiew had discovered signs of financial dishonesty related to him. Peat immediately denied it, but Mr. Nye said all the evidence was pointing toward Peat. Angry, Peat was about to leave when Kiew appeared. Kiew's presence made Peat even more annoyed because he knew Kiew had feelings for Kiew. The fear of losing Kiew gradually turned into frustration and jealousy toward Kiew. In a tense mood, Peat went to Kaw's bar and drank a lot of alcohol. His friend asked what was wrong, but Peat didn't answer. At the same time, Kiew's friend called her, saying Peat was drinking here and advised her to come. Kiew refused because she was also very sad at that time. Drunk, Peat returned home. He asked the maid about Che's condition and was told she was fine and he could visit her himself. Actually, Che had come to see him before that. She asked him what was wrong. Hearing he was accused of personal financial gain and had been laid off, Peat immediately asked who told her this. Che stayed silent, not revealing that Kiew was the one who told her. After that, Peat returned to his room, his head full of Kiew's image. He remembered the times whenever he was tired or hurt, Kiew was always the one by his side. His eyes stopped on her handkerchief. Peat waited and then fell asleep before he knew it. As for Kiew, she went to meet Kiew because he had forced her to have dinner with him. Not wanting to make him sad, Kiew agreed. Meanwhile, Peat woke up and didn't see Kiew anywhere. He repeatedly called her. Since Kiew was in the restroom, Kiew answered the phone. Kiew coldly said he heard Kiew was about to end her marriage with Peat, and this was his chance to win her back once more. Peat was stunned. The fact that Kiew's phone was in Kiew's hand at a late hour made him believe they were together. When Kiew returned, Kiew had hung up and didn't tell her that Peat had just called. When Kiew returned home, Peat immediately blocked her. His eyes were cold, his voice full of suspicion and anger. He asked where she had been at such a late hour. Peat said if Kiew wanted to go out for dinner, she could have told him since he was still her husband and he would personally take her. Kiew asked him to let go, but Peat only tightened his grip, reminding her of his status. He dragged her into the room, asserting that Kiew was still his wife and they hadn't ended the marriage, so he had the right to know where she was and who she went with. Kiew calmly replied that she didn't feel the need to explain because she had made her wish to end this marriage very clear. Peat immediately rejected that, not accepting her proposal. Right when the atmosphere between the two became tense, a loud noise like breaking objects rang out from Che's room. Peat rushed over and saw Che lying motionless on the floor. Without thinking much, he quickly took her to the hospital. Meanwhile, Kiew looked satisfied knowing Peat had been fired. Kiew and her dad had tried their best to keep the position for Peat, but the shareholders still made the final decision. Although Mr. Nye stepped in many times, all efforts brought no results. Peat was called to the company. There, he saw with his own eyes the notice of termination posted publicly. The shock left him stunned. Peat immediately looked for Kiew, thinking she called him here just to witness this scene. In a fit of agitation, he uttered bitter words, even mentioning Mrs. Saw in an insulting way, hurting Kiew deeply. Without saying another word, Kiew took off her wedding ring, placed it in Peat's palm, and said she didn't want to continue this relationship anymore. Peat didn't take the ring back because right then he realized his feelings for Kiew had changed. Kiew remained silent, threw the ring on the ground and walked away. Right then Kiew appeared. He leaned down to pick up the ring, looked at it, and slowly said it was very beautiful, but now Peat no longer had the right to keep it. Kiew declared that he would propose to Kiew and make her his wife. Those words made Peat angry, and the two immediately had a fierce argument. Kiew bluntly said Peat had unintentionally opened the way for him to return to Kiew's life. At the hospital, the doctor informed Peat that Che's condition was not favorable. She had a serious illness, and the treatment process would be very difficult and require a long time for monitoring. When Peat returned home, he asked the maid about Kiew but received the answer that she wasn't home. Worry quickly covered him. Right then, he saw Mr. Nye getting ready to leave. Peat called him back, asking if he didn't have anything to say to him. He stopped, his voice dropping. He said that now he didn't know what to say anymore. He couldn't change the company's decision, nor could he help Peat keep his position even though he tried his best. Therefore, from now on, whatever Peat wanted to do, he should just do it. He wouldn't stop him. He only advised Peat to go back to his biological father, because maybe that would be a better path for him right now. After saying that, he turned and walked away, leaving Peat standing alone. In that moment, all the suppressed emotions finally surged up, turning into an unnamed emptiness and sadness. He decided he would look for Kiew and apologize to her. He looked for her everywhere possible but didn't find her. He called Kiew's friend, but her friend didn't know where she was either. Kiew found out that his truth had been exposed. The person who revealed the truth was none other than his friend, Ka. He was outside a coffee shop and found out that his truth was known by everyone. He left. Peat visited Che to ask about her health. In the quiet room, he bluntly said he loved Kiew and would find her no matter what. Those words were like a knife cutting deep into Che's heart. She burst into tears, chokingly saying that he had used her. When he needed help, she was always there. But when she was weak and needed him most, he chose to leave. Saying that, Che hugged Peat tightly as if wanting to hold on to the last bit of warmth. But Peat gently pushed her away, his eyes determined, saying he had to go to Kiew. He turned and left, leaving Che alone with a despair she couldn't hide. After Peat left, Che called Kiew over. In tears, she told him about her health and the hurt Peat had caused. She said she wouldn't accept it and wanted Peat to pay for everything. He stood frozen when he heard those words. His feelings for Che hadn't faded for a long time. In resentment and heartbreak, he promised he would make Peat taste the same loss and pain she had suffered. Elsewhere, Kiew was sitting alone when she received a call from Kiew. He asked to meet her. When Kiew arrived, Kiew had food ready. Trusting him, Kiew didn't refuse. But she had no idea that in that meal was something that would make her slowly lose consciousness. Meanwhile, Peat and Ka went to Kiew's best friend to ask for help. Because their relationship had become close, Peat hoped she might know where Kiew was. But she really had no clue, only able to shake her head helplessly. Not long after, Peat received a text with a photo of Kiew. The sender was Kiew. The message was short but cold. If he wanted Kiew to be safe, Peat had to go to the exact location he pointed out. Peat's heart tightened with fear. Without hesitating, he immediately got in his car and sped off in despair. When Kiew woke up, her surroundings were unfamiliar. The dizziness made her realize that the previous meal was unusual. Kiew appeared, admitting that he caused her to be in this state and brought her here. However, he reassured her that he wouldn't harm her, because his target was never Kiew but Peat. Not long after Peat appeared, he demanded Kiew let Kiew go. The confrontation between the two quickly became tense. In a moment of losing control, Kiew acted recklessly, making Peat fall down. Kiew panicked and ran to shield Peat. But Kiew pulled her back, his voice full of resentment. He screamed that because of Peat, his life was ruined. He didn't get Kiew and couldn't keep Che. During the chaos, Kiew secretly found a phone. With trembling hands, she sent a message to her dad, reporting her current location and letting him know Peat and Kiew were facing off, hoping he would find a way to help in time. Kiew snatched the gun from Kiew's hand. Right then, her dad and her friends also arrived and stopped their fight. After Kiew talked him down, Kiew realized he was wrong to his friend. He apologized to Peat. After that, both friends went to the hospital for treatment. In another turn of events, Peat went to see Che and apologized for hurting her. Knowing that Peat loved Kiew and wanted to live with her, Che was very hurt and cried. As for Kiew, he changed a lot after all the incidents. He took the initiative to apologize to the friends he had hurt. Looking at Che, old memories of the two of them came back, the days when they were still carefree and not caught up in hatred and schemes. Kiew walked over to her, his voice low but sincere. He said she shouldn't worry, that he would stay and take care of her for the rest of her life, and wouldn't leave her like others had done. Those words left Che silent, her heart gradually softening after all the hurt. As for Peat, he went to Mr. Nye to admit his mistakes from the past. He didn't blame him, just quietly hugged him, seeing it as a late but sincere forgiveness. After that, Peat went to see Kiew to apologize. However, Kiew still couldn't let go of the pain she had gone through. She said she wasn't strong enough to forgive him right now. She advised him to leave because it would be better for both of them, and before going, he should finalize the divorce. Those words broke Peat's heart. He didn't argue further, just quietly turned and walked away. As for Ka, he finally proposed to Pa. She happily accepted, carrying a simple but complete happiness. Through Mr. Nye, Kiew learned that Peat had gone to South Korea. That news left her confused and heartbroken. She suddenly realized the words she said that day weren't exactly a joke, but she didn't expect him to actually choose to leave like that. Her friends advised her to follow her heart. After a lot of hesitating, Kiew decided to go to South Korea to find Peat. She quietly followed him through unfamiliar streets and places he passed, but Peat had no idea. Until at one point, his handkerchief accidentally fell. When Kiew picked it up, she was stunned to realize it was her own handkerchief, the thing Peat had been keeping all this time. Finally, Kiew stood in front of Peat. She looked at him and said, half joking, that if he dared to mention leaving her one more time, or silently disappearing, she would definitely give him a slap. Peat smiled, closing his eyes as if accepting it, but instead of slapping him, Kiew leaned in to kiss him and said she wanted to live with him for the rest of her life. Peat opened his eyes so moved he was speechless. He took out the wedding ring, the ring Kiew had once thrown away. It turned out he had always kept it with him. He gently gave it back to her. Then, Peat and Kiew took a photo together and sent it to Mr. Nye. Seeing that image, he couldn't hide his joy. Finally, After so many misunderstandings and hurt, Peat and Kiew could be together, enjoying the most peaceful and happy moments of their lives. The story closes with a complete ending, where everyone finds their own path, and hearts that were once hurt finally learn how to love and forgive. Everyone, don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next exciting movies.